all been there. You're talking to a woman you actually find attractive, and at first everything is flowing. She's laughing, leaning in. You feel the connection building, and then somewhere in the middle something shifts. The energy drops. Her replies get shorter. She starts glancing at her phone, and even though nothing obviously went wrong, you can feel her slipping. You scramble to bring it back. You ask more questions. You try harder, and the more you try, the faster she fades. Most men think this happens because they ran out of things to say, or because they're not interesting enough, or because she just wasn't into them. But here's the thing, what actually killed that conversation has nothing to do with topics or charisma. It has everything to do with 5 invisible psychological principles that most men never learn. And once you understand them, conversations with women stop feeling like something you're trying to maintain and start feeling natural. 1. Lead the emotional tempo. Here's something almost no man understands. When you're talking to a woman, there's an underlying rhythm to the conversation, a tempo of energy, mood, and emotional intensity. And one of you is setting that tempo, the other is following it. Most men, without realizing it, follow hers. If she's excited, they get excited. If she goes quiet, they get nervous. If she gets serious, they match the seriousness. They think they're being attentive. What they're actually doing is handing her the steering wheel. A woman cannot feel attracted to a man whose emotional state is controlled by hers. Her subconscious is scanning for a man who can hold a frame steady enough that she can lean into it, not a man who reflects her mood back at her like a mirror. Let me show you the difference. Imagine a woman comes back from work and says, "Ugh, I've had the worst day. My boss is impossible." Most men, "Oh no, that's terrible. What happened?" Notice what just happened. He matched her low energy instantly. He let her bad mood become the mood of the conversation. Now watch the man who leads the tempo, him smiling calmly. "Well, you're here now. Your boss doesn't get to ruin both your day and your evening." Same opening, completely different result. He didn't dismiss her feeling. He acknowledged it and redirected the tempo. Within 30 seconds, her energy follows his. That's leading. But leading the tempo only works if you've mastered the second principle, the one that almost no man uses correctly, which is 2. Use silence as a weapon. Most men treat silence in a conversation like an emergency. The second there's a pause longer than 2 seconds, they panic and rush to fill it with a question, a story, a comment about the weather. And every time they do this, they're broadcasting one thing to her subconscious: I can't sit in tension. I need this to keep moving. That's not attractive. That's anxious. The man who can hold a comfortable silence, who can let a pause breathe without flinching, is signaling that he doesn't need the conversation to validate him, and that quiet confidence is one of the most magnetic qualities a man can project. Watch what this looks like in real conversation. Her: "So, what do you do for fun?" Most men: "Oh, I like hiking, and I play guitar sometimes, and I also do a bit of photography," and blah, blah, blah. He's filling. He's nervous filling. She can feel it. Now the man who uses silence, him, holds her eye contact for 2 full seconds. Slight smile. "Depends who I'm with." Then he stops talking and just lets that sit. 9 times out of 10, she leans in. She says, "What does that mean?" Or, "Okay, that's vague," with a smile. The moment she does that, the dynamic has flipped. She's the one carrying the conversation now. You've become the man whose attention has to be earned, not the man pouring it out for free. 3. Break her patterns before she gets comfortable. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say next, because this is where most men make a subtle mistake. It's so quiet that most men, even days later when they're going over the interaction in their head, wondering what went wrong, never spot it. Let me break it down. A woman's subconscious gets bored faster than most men realize. Within the first few minutes of a conversation, her brain has already started to predict what kind of man you are, what you'll say next, how you'll react, what your patterns are. And the moment she can predict you, attraction starts to drop, because predictability on a primal level signals safety without excitement, which is exactly the friend zone frequency. The fix is to deliberately break her predictions. If the conversation has been serious for 5 minutes, drop in something playful out of nowhere. If she's been teasing you, suddenly go warm and direct. Here's a perfect example. She asked you the most generic question in the world. Her: "So what do you do for work?" Most men: "I work at a marketing firm downtown. I've been there about 3 years." The conversation is now on rails. She's already half checked out because her brain saw this answer coming before he even opened his mouth. Now the pattern breaker, him: "I'll tell you, but only if you promise not to use it against me later." Her, laughing: "Okay, now I have to know." Same question, completely different conversation. He didn't even tell her what he does yet, and she's already more engaged than she was 30 seconds ago. That's the power of breaking the pattern. Her brain expected one thing, got another, and now she has to pay attention because her usual autopilot doesn't work on you, which sets up the next principle perfectly, because once she's paying attention, the real game begins. 4. Never match her investment. Sit one notch below it or one notch above. Here's a principle almost no man applies, and it's the one that quietly decides whether she keeps thinking about you after the conversation ends. Every conversation has an invisible scoreboard. How much energy, attention, and emotional investment each person is putting in. Most men make the same mistake. They match her investment exactly. She gives a little, they give a little. She opens up, they open up the same amount. They think they're being balanced. What they're actually doing is removing all the tension that creates attraction. Watch this play out. She tests him by giving very little. Her, short, dry. Yeah, it was okay. Most men, nervously matching. Oh, okay, cool. The conversation just died. He matched her low energy and confirmed her suspicion that he had nothing to bring. Now the man who runs his investment asymmetrically, him, calm, holds her eye contact, says nothing. He doesn't fill the gap. He doesn't get nervous. He doesn't try to rescue the moment. He just lets the dryness of her answer sit in the air and waits. Within a few seconds, she feels the weight of her own short response. The silence isn't on him anymore. It's on her. And almost every time, she's the one who breaks it. Okay, fine. It was actually kind of a long week. I just didn't want to get into it. Now the conversation has restarted, but on completely different terms. She just opened up, unprompted, because the energy of the moment forced her to. He didn't chase. He didn't fold. He simply trusted that silence was stronger than any clever line he could have come up with. Or imagine the opposite. She's been giving a lot, opening up, sharing stories. Her. And that's why I ended up moving to the city. It was honestly one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. Most men matching her vulnerability. Wow, that's so brave. I went through something similar when He matched her exactly, and now the moment is balanced, which means it's flat. The man who runs asymmetry pulls back just enough. Him, nodding calm. That actually says a lot about you. Then he lets it sit. He didn't match her vulnerability with his own. He received hers. And now she's wondering what he meant by a lot about you, whether it was a good thing, whether she gave too much. A man whose investment perfectly matches hers is a man she's already figured out. A man whose investment is slightly unpredictable is a man she's still trying to read. And the man she's still trying to read is the man she can't stop thinking about. 5. Leave a thread unfinished. This is the move that turns a good conversation into one she replays in her head for days. Most men, when they sense the conversation winding down, do everything they can to extend it. They squeeze every last drop out of the moment. They share one more story, ask one more question, make one more joke. And in doing so, they hand her a complete experience. Beginning, middle, end. Her brain processes it, files it away, and moves on. That's why she liked talking to you, but didn't think about you afterward. The man who masters this principle does the opposite. He plants a thread he doesn't finish. Him. You actually remind me of someone I used to know. Her. Really? Who? Him, smiling. I'll tell you another time. That's it. He doesn't explain. He doesn't elaborate. And then 10 minutes later, he ends the conversation before she's ready. Him, I should head out. This was good. Her, wait, already? Him, smiling. Yeah, we'll continue this. He just left her with 2 open loops. Who does she remind him of? What did he mean by continue this? Her brain, which would have moved on if everything had wrapped up cleanly, now has unfinished business it can't close on its own. And the only way to close it is to talk to you again. This isn't manipulation. This is psychology. The human mind cannot let go of what feels incomplete. And the men women obsess over are the men who left them with something unfinished to process. At the end of the day, holding a conversation with a woman isn't about being charming, funny, or impressive. It's about understanding that every conversation is a psychological exchange of tempo, of tension, of investment, of unfinished moments. Master these 5 principles, and you stop being one of the many men a woman talks to and forgets. You become the one she can't stop thinking about, not because of what you said, but because of what you made her feel without ever telling her you were doing it. Now that you understand how to hold a conversation, all of this only matters if you've actually started the conversation. And if approaching her is what's been holding you back, you should watch this next.